Er was verzocht vanuit de organisatie om het Engels te doen, dus ik ga hem in het Engels doen. Voor de mensen die ook via de stream mee gaan kijken. Cloud Security That Scales. We waren gevraagd om een inspiratie-speech te geven, dus ik heb geprobeerd om het een keer anders te doen als anders. En ik wilde eigenlijk hiermee beginnen. Nou, ik denk dat iedereen herkent. Oh, let's switch over to English. Everyone understands and sees what this is. This is the tube plan from London. And I made some notes in the top with the red letters. It's pretty hard to see over here, but later on you will see it. And I said on the move. And on the move means that today people are on the move, working from home, working from different places. The data is on the move, maybe in Azure, maybe in Amazon Web Services. Maybe you make use of SaaS applications. So everything, all assets within organizations are on the move. Another thing what is on the move is the type and the different flavors of malware that we are seeing. So this is a ransomware tube map. So as you can see, it was pretty quiet with some variants of malware and specifically ransomware up to 2014, and then from 2015, 16 and 17, we see an enormous growth of different types of ransomware families and variants about it. And if you look in our threat intelligence service that we are offering, we see the same pattern. So in terms of absolute numbers of malware, we see 2012, 13, and 14, they are quiet and it's on the rise. But since 2015, it's exploding. It is exploding, and from then on, I just started to do it in quarters. So quarter 1, 2016, represented more unique malware than we saw ever before. And this is still on the rise. Another big issue that we are facing in terms of security, this line shows how much of the malware seen was not covered by antivirus. So it was around 30% that had no coverage by any of the AV vendors, and that number is rising as well. So now on average 60 to 70% of all malware that we are observing on a daily basis doesn't have any coverage. So we have to come up with some smart ideas on how to fix that. So how I want to make the bridge to the cloud a bit, but this can be a cloud solution, this can be a SaaS solution, this can also be your data center. So every vendor out there, they are really proud how we can protect your data. So we show the big vault door with all the specifications. We are really strong, we have a lot of steel in it, it's pretty secure. But what if this is happening? This is a real example of a bank being hacked a couple of years ago in London. And they drilled a hole into the safe area. So they didn't bypass the door, they just digged a hole in it. And everyone can say, yeah, we're really, really secure. No one gets through my door. But they were pretty successful in stealing the data, or stealing the diamonds, or whatever that was there found in the safe. And in the meantime, there were signals. There were signals that something was happening in the bank. And of course, this is a stupid picture of the guy, the UK police guy. But they did a round, and they checked, and they said, nothing wrong with the bank. All the doors seems to be closed, no alarms went off in the bank building, on the second floor, or on the first floor, or on the ground floor. But in the meantime, every data was stolen. And this represents, I think, exactly what can happen with our data. Either it is on the PC, on your mobile, in the cloud, in the data center, wherever the data is. So, to be more secure and have more doors and more safes and more measurements, we made a pretty comprehensive picture on the security landscape with all the vendors out there. So per type of or area in your infrastructure, it can be in the cloud, it can be identity management, mobile security, you have so much choice and you have to make up your mind and say, okay, how can we be secure? And I think Peter was completely right. You need to have an adaptive security solution that ties all the signaling system and the enforcement systems together and make sure that you can automatically adapt the current situation. They are drilling a hole in my safe, so I need to protect that part. And of course I need to take care of the door, and then of course I need to take care of all kind of motion detection technologies that you have in your bank, but you have to find a way how to connect all those security components together and let them work together. If not, all your security components, they will log events, they maybe correlate events already for you, but all your security solutions will come up with different flavors, different forms, different flavors of how they present the data to you. Maybe this is your web security gateway. They will represent something. Something suspicious was happened in my organization. But if you're really looking for a specific event that is the most crucial one, and maybe this is the one, how can you define that? How can you find the events that matter to you? So I want to show this question, and look at the picture, and I have to warn everyone with epileptic background, so you have to close your eyes right now, because otherwise you can be triggered maybe. But what do we see over here? A car crashing into for the test, right? We see the zone here that is shrinking. You see the airbags kicking in, you see the safe belt kicking in, and within the car, there is a system that lets all the security measurements work together. We come from a history that best of breed was the best solution out there. That was the way forward to implement security. But what if I tell you, based on this example, that maybe Volvo has the best impact system, right? And maybe Ford has the best safety belt. You're not going to buy a car to protect your family during your traveling, but say, okay, I need a Volvo impact system, airbags, they're really good from BMW, and the safety belt is the best produced by Ford. You don't buy and combine them, right? This is the best of breed, which was pretty successful for years, but if you think about the ransomware tube, the detection go down dramatically. We need to come up with adaptive security that can adapt the new situation, correlate all the events happening, and make smart decisions based on that. So sometimes I warn you guys that I'm from Palo Alto Networks, so sometimes sort of products will be shown up on slide. What we say is, wherever the data is, wherever the applications are, wherever your users are, you need to protect them, where they are, and how they communicate. So it has to be in the cloud, in all kind of flavors, the public, the private, with Azure, with Amazon, the SaaS applications, and it also has to be protected on the endpoint and on the network. Make sure that you have the protection everywhere where your assets are. So let's go back in time a bit. This was from the 70s, 80s. And as you can see, the users were working in one room. They had terminals and they had the mainframe all under their control, physically and also by supporting it. So this was a pretty clean picture and easy to protect, right? As long as you have a perimeter firewall or perimeter security, you were safe. Everything was inside. And then, years later, we had to think about all kind of different things. So new devices introduced to the network, maybe third-party services came in and had to make a connection with your environment. Maybe you want to split out the mainframe and you want to put them in a separate room, and we call that a computer room in the past, and now it's called a data center. We need to come up with different zones. So we need to think about or rethink about security and say, okay, zero trust network segmentation. No trust till you know for sure it's trustful, not the other way around. Then people started to move out the company. And this is just a picture of, and some of the examples are absolutely true. If I say to my mother that I'm working from home, they think I'm like doing something with computers, right? And I think you'll recognize that. My boss or my colleagues maybe think I'm just on the couch playing the PlayStation. But this is happening, right? I think every organization, we are more flexible in how we work from which location. But this is introducing more and more complex security measurements and things that you need to go through. Then applications, they start moving to the cloud. And I think Peter mentioned it like in a small phrase in his presentation that a lot of the SaaS application providers, they offer you security for free, right? But you really need to think if that's enough for your organization. Is the security that is offered by Microsoft, for example, enough? And is that on the same level that you want to have your applications and data protected within your organizations? And the answer is not by default, by Microsoft. And basically every cloud is just someone else's computer. And really, it depends on the type of as a service. They will are more responsible for the security. Most of the times it's a combined responsibility. So you are responsible for the data. That's almost standard. And by giving or by putting your data in the cloud, global access to your data is a fact, if you want it or not. So you need to come up with ways to protect access to your data. It's easy to collaborate with third party, with your colleagues, but you need to be keen on how you protect the communication to your data. And with SaaS, it's even worse, I would say. Look at the picture. This is what happens with SaaS applications. It's so easy to use a SaaS application, right? It's so easy to send a big presentation to Box folder and then share it with someone. But the level of exposure of your data is completely out of your control. Microsoft is not offering anything. Box is not offering. They're just offering the collaboration tool itself. So you need to come up with tools that are monitoring all the exposures of your data that are residing in the SaaS applications. And I think everyone has experience with Box or Dropbox, right? Everyone use that from time to time? I think so. So you send the link to your colleague, and he tries to open it and calls you or pings you or whatever, Skype calls you and say, I don't have access, so the privileges are not correct. So what do you do then? The most simple way is change the exposure method from someone within my company to just everyone with a link, with a public link. From that moment on, that data is free for everyone. Everyone with a link can access your data. And if it's just a sales presentation like mine, I don't care. But what if this is data that is very important for your company, financial, maybe some compliance information that really depends on the business that you're doing. You need to come up with ways to check and analyze the data which resides in the SaaS applications and make sure that the data is classified. That if there is an, I don't know, PCI document, if credit card information is there, it never should be exposed to the outside world, only within your organization. And if so, you need to report on it, maybe automatically remediate that solution, that risk, and you're on the safe side. And another thing that always has to be in place, in our opinion, is with the ransomware tube in mind, the amount of malware, the polymorphism that's happening, the enormous amount of unique variants of malware in general, or threats, you need to have a connection, wherever your data is, with a sort of an intelligence cloud that makes sure in near real time that an unknown sample is checked in a sandbox with all kind of analysis methods, and make sure that you can act on the result of that threat intelligence cloud. Either your data is in the cloud, is it on your mobile, maybe in your own data center, it doesn't matter. It always has to be at that high level. So now a warning. I will mention some products, so everyone who's not interested in Palo Alto Networks products, they can leave right now or just have a short break. This is our strategy. So you need to be consistent in your security across all the platforms. As you can see, you need to apply the same kind of technologies in terms of protecting against known threats, unknown threats. Either it is on your firewall, either it is in your data center, private or public, that doesn't matter, but also in the SaaS security. So we strive for the best security in every single step of your journey to the cloud. So maybe only your users working from home from time to time, that's fine. We can offer the security for that. And it has to be consistent together with your people that work from the office. If your data already moved, or your compute power moved already to the cloud, or you're using one of the SaaS applications, we want to offer, and we can offer you the same kind of measurements and protections against the threats out there. And then the last thing, and I was happy with Peter mentioning that, it has to be adaptive. First of all, it has to scale, right? Because the number of malware that is hitting your environment, or threats in general hitting your environment, is tremendous. If you only rely on detection and response, in our organization, Palo Alto Networks, we observe 400,000 to 500,000 events on a weekly basis. There is no way that you can hire enough people, enough staff to go through that kind of events. For you guys, customers of SecureLink, it's good news because they can offload a lot of that work for you, because they can correlate. Their scale of being a security provider in EMEA or in the Nordic for the moment, but they will expand for sure. They have the capability to automate all the detection and response, and they have specific groups of people that are really trained on it. So you don't need to hire your own people that go through your logs and just see if something has happened. And again, all the components in your infrastructure, they need to collaborate with the threat intelligence. Everyone needs to be informed at the same level with the same information every day and in real time. So this was a presentation, 28 seconds left. Any questions? Nope. All right. Thank you so much.